Well, it's been 3 weeks since Emerson and I came in here and did a rye overseed on this Santarena Cooch lawn for some winter theatrics. Now, as you look around, we have had some really favourable conditions for seed germination. We've had some nice cool evenings. We've had some good regular rainfall. In fact, we've probably had just a fraction too much, which has stopped me from getting on this lawn a little bit sooner to give it its first mow, because as you can see, in places it's quite long. In fact, it's getting north of 20 centimetres. We've had a really good germination result with the sowing techniques that I showed you in the previous video. So if you haven't seen the previous video, I'll put a link up there. Go and watch the first video, because this is what we're looking at 3 weeks on. I'm absolutely pumped at the success rate that we've had with our oversow. So today what we've got to do, we've got to do a few things today. Today is time to give it our first mow. And as I just mentioned, I would have liked to have done this at about the 10-day, 14-day mark, but it just wasn't possible with work and weather. So today will be the first mow. We're going to be taking off a little bit more than what I would have liked to have taken off. But look, unfortunately, that's what happens at times, and you could find yourself in this situation, so I'll point you in the right direction. Once we've put that down, or once we've got that cut down, sorry, I'm going to put down some more liquids, because with excessive rainfall and having plenty of irrigation to start with, it can help leach products through the soil a little bit quicker than intended. So we'll pop some products out, and then finally, on the Tiff Tough side of things, we might even put that triplex on it and lay some really fat stripes, because it is a week ahead of this, but it's in much nicer condition. So a little over a month ago, I was trawling through Facebook Marketplace, which I've dubbed the modern day trading post, looking for various different mowers and stuff. And one of the things that I've always wanted to add to my collection for a while now, sort of takes me back to my apprenticeship days, and that is an old Petrol Flymo. And I searched for a few years, and every now and then one would come up, but they were never really exactly what I was after. And then lo and behold, I stumbled across this one. So lo and behold, I've ended up with it, and I've been mowing the Tiff Tough lawn behind me here now with it since I've been mowing it. So it's had about 3 mows now with this, and it does a really great job. Now, these things actually work by floating just off the surface. So underneath this is a fan, and the fan and the blade lift this just off the ground, and it hovers just across the surface, and it cuts really nicely. There's no wheel tracks, there's nothing like that. A little bit rare these days in Australia. There's a few floating around Europe still, but most of these things were used on golf courses for steep banks, around water hazards, bunkers, etc. So this is sort of taking me back to my apprenticeship days, where I spent many hours behind one of these, and for nostalgic reasons, I found one and I bought it. But today what I want to do is, I want to cut that other rye lawn with it. I just feel it's probably going to be a little bit too long. Not too long for the mower to handle, but it's probably going to leave a bit of a mess. So what we might do, we'll just have a little play around with it. We'll see how it goes, and if I have to get the Honda out with a catcher to pick it all up, so be it. But my plan was to mow with this, so let's stick to that, have a bit of fun. If it makes a mess, we'll clean it up. So. So as you can see, when it's really long like that, these things do make a bit of a mess. But as far as the cut goes, it actually cuts really cleanly, and it's done a really neat job of the cut, but the whole experience, unfortunately today, is probably a little bit too messy. So we will move on to the Honda, and straight away you're going to notice one of the big things you'll notice straight away is this leaves no wheel tracks because it hovers just above the surface. And when we put the Honda on this other here, it's going to leave wheel tracks, which are going to give not so nice of appearance, but there's not much we can do today. So we'll move on, we'll trim it up with the Honda now, and I'll clean up all this other mess. So in case you're sitting at home wondering to yourself, what just happened to the 1/3 rule, especially with cool season grass as well, it's kind of another one of those situations where, because this grass is so young and most of it's only at the first or maybe second, one or two might be at third leaf stage, we don't really have any defined crown, if you will, that's going to really damage. And we're only going down to about that 2.5 centimetre sort of height. And most of this lawn throughout the middle here is not going to be too far out of the 1/3, it might be 1/2. Around the edges, it's a little bit of a different story, but as you just saw then on the street, none of that is scalped, none of that looks in any way under any pressure. So we're right to sort of proceed, and we want to sort of get this down. My ongoing maintenance height for this ryegrass this winter is going to be 15 millimetres, so that's what we're aiming for. I really just want to catch up on the late mow, get this back under check. The other thing that this first cut will do now is it's going to encourage this lawn to what we call tiller. So as I said, at the moment, most of these blades of grass or leaf blades, there's only about 1 or 2 per seed. There may be 1 or 2 grass seeds here now that are up to their 3rd leaf development. Once we mow this is going to really stimulate this grass here and encourage it to keep sending up more leaf blades, and that will help thicken up the lawn. So we're going to go down to about the 1 inch mark, or 22.5 centimetres. That's the aim. We'll give it 1 or 2 cuts at that with the Flymo going forward, because I won't be letting it get this long again. And probably another week or 2, we'll get the triplex onto this as well, like we're going to do today on the Tifta. Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There's something about the smell of ryegrass, freshly cut ryegrass, which is really intoxicating. It's got a really nice fresh smell. And as you can see, even though we're in the afternoon, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon now, it is still really, really wet. This stuff holds a lot of moisture, a lot of chlorophyll, which is the green material here. So it will stain clothing and stuff like that. This Honda's doing a great job of picking it up, I won't lie, but yeah, getting a lot of it. Looking so lush behind us too. I'm really keen to get some more product on this and really push it. Let's get the best lawn we can get. So I'll tip this in the bin, we'll get the rest of this mown. For a 3-week-old lawn, I'm pretty impressed. Got really good coverage, really uniform colour, although not all is as it seems. Now we've taken away this top cover, we start to see what's happening just beneath the top there. And as I thought, we've got a few broadleaf weeds starting to creep in. Now, that would have been no doubt in that last lot of topsoil that I ordered in. As I showed you in the video at the time, That topsoil was straight out of the quarry, and it did have a little bit of root material in it, no doubt seeds as well. So I can see that there are quite a few little broadleafs and stuff starting to pop in, but that's okay. In a couple of weeks' time, once this ryegrass is a little bit more established, a little bit more settled in, I'm going to hit this with a selective herbicide that's going to knock out broadleaves, take care of all of that. It will not harm the cooch, and it will not certainly harm our new ryegrass. So one of the biggest tips I can give you guys for a successful ryegrass lawn is to feed it. Ryegrass is one of those grasses that is particularly hungry, and it does well on regular applications of fertilizer, particularly nitrogen. So today it's time to top them up again. We're going to go with our Nature Max, which is our liquid organic style product, and we're going to boost it with our Maintain Max, which has got a nice high level of nitrogen and a good dollop of potassium, being 12 nitrogen and 20 potassium. So nitrogen obviously is for our leaf growth, nice, lush, healthy leaf growth, and our potassium is our overall strength and vigor in the case of turf. With our Nature Max, what it's going to do is it's going to really help us develop some nice, big, fat, healthy root system, really stimulate that, get roots happening, get them healthy, get them happy. It also is a biostimulant. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to feed essentially the soil. It's going to help increase the cation exchange capacity in the soil. And what that does is it unlocks nutrients and makes them more available to the plant. So we're going to mix these two together quite safely. We're going to apply them with a backpack sprayer. We're going to leave them on the leaf, and then I might rinse it off in the morning. So going forward now with this rye lawn, we're at 25 mils or thereabouts with the rotary mower. We've got to come down a little bit more. Now, the key to this for me now, and you guys at home, is regular mowing. My main aim now is to keep mowing this every couple of days, 2 to 3 days. Start to retrain the grass that, hey, we're really looking for you to be a bit lower than you were. So start responding in such a way. So regular mowing is going to do that. And I really don't think it's going to be too long until we can also put the triplex on this lawn and get some really nice stripes. Now, one thing I didn't touch on entirely in the last video was my watering schedule. Now, I did get one comment asking me to elaborate on that, so here we go. I found for me here, in my climate, my soil type, etc., 3 waterings a day for a week was absolutely sufficient. In fact, I probably, towards the end, cut it back to only 2. It was just enough. The idea behind it is you want to make sure that the soil remains damp at all times, but not excessively soggy and wet to encourage disease or allow it to dry out. So if in your part of the world, that means you're watering maybe 4 or 5 times a day for the first few days of germination, then so be it. If you're like me and you can get away with 2 to 3 times a day for the first week, amazing, great stuff. Once the seed starts to germinate and we're about that 10 to 14 day mark, you don't need to be watering it multiple times a day. In fact, start to back it off and maybe look at watering maybe 3 times a week. See how it goes. If it starts to look a bit thirsty, increase the water. If it looks healthy and it looks like it's not struggling and the ground's starting to build up a bit too much water, back it off again. The simple answer is it's going to be different for every single application or every single situation. I can give you the rough tips and tricks and guides, but it's going to be different where you are. The other thing to keep in mind is we want to make sure that we get these roots down nice and deep. So we do want to reduce the watering as soon as we can. With our sort of regular rain and stuff that's been happening here, I haven't actually put the sprinklers on this for over a week now. And I really think going forward, I'm just going to do watering twice a week and just sort of see how it goes. As you can see just then, once again, I wear a spray suit. Now that's not because the chemicals are toxic or anything like that. It's just because I don't want to wear that stuff on me unnecessarily. So I just do that, and also having a backpack sprayer on my back. If any of it leaks out, it's running down the back of a spray suit. It's just a safer way of doing business. I'm more comfortable doing that, and it's probably a practice that you guys should consider adopting as well. Let's now move on. I've been itching for this. I've been absolutely excited beside myself. I want to get that triplex out. Let's lay some stripes on the Tiff Tough patch of rye and see how we go. Well, I don't know about you, but that is looking pretty good for a four-week-old lawn. As time goes on, these stripes will become more predominant, the grass will thicken up, and this will be a heap greener. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this first mow of the rye overseed for winter. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll catch you next time on the Aussie Lawn.